want to show you how to start working on a graphic novel and just how to get this all set up to make your life easier. So first things first, I'm going to open up a document in Photoshop. I know it sounds weird, but when we do this, I'm going to ask that you set your width and your height to a ratio of 14 by 11 or 11 by 14. You decide if you want it portrait or landscape mode, that's up to you, but we're going to make these nice and big. Resolution of 300 ppi. You can always print them smaller, but let's make it a nice big image. Background contents, transparent, and of course, as always, color profile is RGB. Okay, so there we go. First thing I'm going to do, if it's not already open up here, I am going to make sure that that my rulers are visible. And I'm noticing for some reason that my rulers, the units are not set to inches. It doesn't really matter. I wish it was, though. And there's a way to do that. Like if I come over here and go to units and rulers, and yeah, look at this. What is this? Change this to inches. And so, okay, see if that's, oh, see, now it's inches. Yay. All right. First thing you're going to do, I can get any comic book, and this is not always the case, but look at the layout. You see how like there's the grid system? We want to create a grid system, and obviously grids are made to be broken. Grids are made to be manipulated in some ways, and I will show you how to do that later if that's something that you want to do. And I wholeheartedly encourage this. I think this is really a great layout. But if you want to just go with a straight and narrow just to get started, that's cool too. So let me just show you the options. Now, let's say that you want to do this and you want to have a border. So I'm going to come over, and this is going to seem weird. We've probably never done this before in class. We're going to create what's called a guide. And what a guide is it's an invisible line that gives you the option to kind of see where everything lines up. So I'm going to come over to the ruler. I'm not clicking on the gray part here, but I'm coming over to the ruler. I'm going to mouse down and drag, and I get a guide. And just see by doing that, there it is. And what's nice about this is if I change my mind, I can move this guide anywhere I want to. So if I put a guide here and a guide here, and let's say I want my first image to start like, say here, right? And then I don't know what it's going to be yet, but let's say it goes over to about here, right? And the cool thing about guides is you can change your mind anytime you want to. I'm trying to remember how to delete these. I think there's a way, but I don't know how it is. So if the guide gets in the way, you just move it out of the way for now. There is a way to delete them, but for some reason I'm having trouble with that. No biggie. Just move them out of the way. But you can see you can just mouse down and drag and put your guides wherever you want to. And you want to set these up. I do recommend having a little bit of space between the photos, but what's nice about this, or the images, is you can make it anything you want it to be. Now obviously in this case guides are just horizontal and vertical. I can't unfortunately get any guides that are anything else. And just because I can do this doesn't mean that you have to have the same image here and then another image that's exactly lined up. Maybe I'm going to make a guide that's going to cut through and I'm going to ignore it up here, and that's going to be like for this image down here, and it's going to, you know, maybe there's going to be an image like right there and this image is vertical. I don't know. So let me show you where to go from here. This is where it gets fun. Once you have your guide set up, let's say you start bringing images in here. So in my layers, I'm going to drag in, you've probably seen this image before, this awesome lion. And there he is, roar. Okay. And I, oops, edit undo. And I hit the checkbox just to kind of indicate I want him there. Now let's say I want the lion here, and I think what I want to do is instead of showing the whole lion, I want to crop the lion down, and I'm just seeing his awesome eyes, all right? And rather than resizing this and making that work, well, let me show you a trick right now. I'm going to go to Layer Masks. So if you look carefully now, I have the lion and I have this weird thingy right here. And I know that I want the layer mask. Let's say I want it because of my guides. That's why the guides are important. I want this to be here, and I drag this across like that. So I get that. I go to Select, Inverse. And as weird as this sounds, I'm going to get the paint bucket tool, and I'm going to get a color black. And if you can't find it, it's under Gradients, by the way, or G. And I'm going to fill all this in with a black, oh, I have a gradient there, with a black color. And if you look carefully, it looks like I just cropped the line. What's cool about this, let me select, deselect. I did not crop the line. I just added a layer mask. Now, be careful. This layer mask is linked with the line. So before you decide to move the line around anymore, you unlink it. But here's the beautiful thing. If I click back here, see how this is now highlighted in white instead of this? So now the line is highlighted, not the layer mask. If I click on the move tool, make sure show transform to controls is showing up. Hold down the shift key, maybe the option key too. Look at that. I can zoom in and maybe I want to focus on the lion's eyes. But what's nice about this is I didn't actually get rid of the rest of the image. I didn't actually crop it out. So if I want to move this around later, if I change my mind, if I want to resize it, let me zoom out, it's all still there. The whole image is still all there. I can bring it all back. But the great thing about these guides and also about what I just did is that this gives me the ability to edit. Okay, so let's do that again. I'm going to bring another image in just to show you. So here's this awesome image of a barn. These are like my go-to images when I'm teaching Photo 1 class. So let's say I decide I want the barn to be up here, but I want it to fit into this section right here, and I'm not sure if it's going to fit with the right aspect ratio. So I'll make a layer mask. So again, I'm on this layer. I click. I have to place it first, so check it. Click the layer mask tool, and then again, grab it, select it, drag, right, do something like that, and then make sure I'm working in here when I do this. Select inverse, so now I have everything but this area selected, and I click, and I just grab, and I just make that all black. And then select, deselect, unlock it so that the guides here, click on this so I don't accidentally move that around, and then alakazam, I can move this barn around, I can shrink it down, I can do anything I want to the image, and it'll stay, that's too small, it'll stay within that area. So if it's the wrong aspect ratio, it doesn't matter because I can force those proportions by doing this without having to stretch it out and everything. And again, if I change my mind, I can change my mind to make it smaller, bigger, what have you. So that's essentially how the comic book layout gets started. So work with guides and then start bringing your images in and work with layer masks.